Hello everyone. I'm very glad to be here in the Open edX Conference 2023. My name is Roi Shillo and I'm leading the Learning Technologies division of Midlink. We are an AWS partners and we are providing Open edX and open source solution based on AWS. And I'm also the chief architect of Campus IL, the national learning platform of Israel. And I'm very, very happy to have today Justin, which had a great keynote speaks today. And Justin, maybe can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Justin Reich. I'm a faculty member at MIT. I run a lab called the Teaching Systems Lab, and my last book was Failure to Disrupt: Why Technology Alone Can't Transform Education.
Yes. So Justin, thank you. And I do believe that technology alone cannot transfer education. We've tried that many years. But we do want to ask a few questions. First of all, my long life mission is regarding how to reduce the social gap and how to improve the social mobility. And it will be very interesting to hear your opinion regarding the diversity of how technology changed the education or cannot change the education in different locations around the world or in different cultures.
Yeah, I think that's a great question because new technologies operate in different places, in different contexts, in different ways. Mm-hmm. It's pretty easy to imagine how online learning can be transformative in higher education with people who are really good at managing their own time and really committed to learning. It's harder to understand the roles that technology might play in early education, where our goals are incredibly important things like communicating from human to human and executive function and tying shoes and those kinds of things. So a huge challenge that educators face is figuring out, where technology can have real impact and leverage, and where we've already developed some pretty good traditional practices that we should continue to use and support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this is one question, and it will be great to think with more people and more organizations how to face this challenge. And I think that another question regarding the technology is regarding innovation, because when it's so hard to implement new technologies to education organizations, and we know that, how does the innovation works and how can we push the innovation when these processes are so slow?
Yeah, well, one is we just have to recognize that in the United States we have this metaphor of being a game of inches. It comes from American football, where you move a football very slowly down a field. And human development is a game of inches. There are not many cases in which we come up with new technologies or new approaches that we look back and go, wow, learning was totally different after that. Instead, the way we make learning better is we come up with textbooks and materials that are a little bit better, teaching practices that are a little bit better, technologies that are helpful, not here and here, but they actually are pretty helpful over here. I think it can be helpful to think about bringing a tinkerer's mindset, that we make education better through lots of small steps of continuous improvement, rather than through big step changes. My colleague Ken Kadinger at Carnegie Mellon says, step change is what 25 years of incremental change looks like from a distance.
Yeah, and how does, maybe because we are now here in Open edX, how does the MOOCs play? What is the role of MOOCs in all this step-by-step game? Or
Yeah, so I think there had been a hope for a while that MOOCs might radically reconfigure the higher education system, or that they would provide really good new pathways for people who hadn't had access to higher education before. And it turns out what they seem to be good at is educating already affluent, already educated people. Most folks find self-paced learning really hard, and the people who are best at it, they tend to have a preparation from their formal education. The way you get good at higher education, at independent education, is that you have an apprenticeship in formal education somewhere. If that's the kind of thing that MOOCs are good at, let's not imagine or tell stories that, MOOCs are going to be this powerful new way to let people into higher education who haven't had access before. I mean, maybe in some cases, but maybe we just say, all right, well, who are the populations that are really particularly well served by this approach? And how do we figure out how we, how we serve those populations? And if there are other groups that require more human contact, that require more human connection in their learning. Let's not pretend that self-paced learning is good for them. Let's try to figure out how we get them the resources they need to be successful in their education.
Yes, so Justin, I totally agree, and I think that we saw that as well. So I'm totally recommend to see the keynote speak that you just gave, because it really was an eye-opener. I do want to say something from a personal note. In Israel, we have now a real situation, and we are fighting for our democracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to state that if we want to continue with all this open education and open learning and open source stuff, then we really need Israel to be a democracy. So just final note. But Justin, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure, Roy.
Yeah, thanks.